When Elder Winterchill's hoarse voice echoed through the skies, an uproar broke out across the heavens. The many envious gazes were irresistibly drawn toward the direction where Luo Li stood, and one had expected that the War Emperor of the Western Heaven Battle Hall would personally issue a decree, crowning Luo Li as the Holy Maiden of the Western Heaven Battle Hall. This position held an extraordinarily prestigious status within the hall, second only to the War Emperor himself. Even elders like Elder Winterchill would have to show great respect when meeting those holding such a title. However, as others looked on with envy, the face of Luo Tiangad darkened. It was well known that the War Emperor of the Western Heaven Battle Hall had 3,000 beauties in his harem, all of the world's finest. Moreover, the cultivation method he practiced, the Great Emperor's inner canon, granted him the ability for dual cultivation, making him a peerlessly charming figure. In the past, Luo Tiangad had vaguely heard rumors suggesting that the Western Heaven Battle Hall had shown interest in Luo Li. But at that time, Luo Li's fame had not yet risen. Yet over the years, as she grew more remarkable and her reputation spread far and wide, she must have caught the attention of the Western Heaven Battle Hall. Now that Luo Li had perfected the Luo Shen divine body, she shone brighter than ever. It was inevitable that she would attract the attention of the Western Heaven Battle Hall, but what took Luo Tiangad by surprise was how quickly they acted. Across the many continents within the territories of the Western Heaven Continent and the Western Heaven Battle Hall, countless beautiful women dreamed of winning the favor of the War Emperor, hoping to rise to the top. After all, his power and charm could easily captivate any woman. The War Emperor's 3,000 beauties were not coerced. They were all captivated by his grace and charm. Yet, Luo Tiangad knew that his granddaughter would never be one of them. With her pride, she would never be interested in anyone except the person she truly admired. Even the War Emperor himself would be beneath her. Therefore, while others desperately sought the position of Holy Maiden, Luo Li would likely refuse without hesitation. But the problem was, how could one refuse the War Emperor's decree? The War Emperor was the ruler of the Western Heaven Continent. He was the Heavenly Supreme, a figure whose name resounded across the great thousand worlds. As Luo Tiangad smiled bitterly, Mu Chun furrowed his brows. Though he did not know much about the War Emperor of the Western Heaven Battle Hall, from Luo Tiangad's expression, he had a vague guess. Congratulations, Holy Maiden. From now on, you will be the Holy Maiden of the Western Heaven Battle Hall, Elder Winterchill said with a slight smile, raising the golden scroll in his hand. Please accept the decree. However, his action was met with no response. Luo Li raised her delicate face, her eyes like crystal glass, calmly gazing at Elder Winterchill. After a long pause, she spoke slowly, word by word. I refuse. When Luo Li's calm voice spread across the heavens, the uproar instantly fell silent. Countless people widened their eyes, incredulously staring at Luo Li. She actually refused the decree of the ruler of the Western Heaven Continent? That was the will of the Heavenly Supreme. The Blood Spirit Son, who had been frightened half to death by Elder Winterchill's words earlier, now found his gaze flashing with wild joy. He had never imagined that Luo Li would be bold enough to take such a stand. Elder Winterchill, too, was stunned. His brows furrowed slowly as his voice dropped. This is the War Emperor's decree. Are you certain about the consequences of refusal? Even Luo Li could feel the immense pressure in Elder Winterchill's words. Yet, she still raised her head proudly, her eyes gleaming with a will to rather be shattered than to yield. As she bore this pressure alone, a figure appeared beside her. Without regard for the astonished gazes from all directions, the figure reached out and tightly grasped her slender, cold hand. The one holding her hand was none other than Mu Chun. He looked at Luo Li, and she returned his gaze with a gentle smile. The crowd gasped in astonishment. In that moment, the powerful figures across the lands finally realized that Mu Chun and Luo Li were a couple. It was clear that Luo Li had rejected the position of Holy Maiden for Mu Chun. Mu Chun held Luo Li's hand, and then looked up at Elder Winterchill, his expression impassive. Since when did the Holy Maiden of the Western Heaven Battle Hall become something people are forced into? Junior, some words are not meant to be spoken casually. Elder Winterchill's voice was low and deep, As an overwhelming wave of spiritual pressure erupted from his body, in an instant, the world around them turned into a harsh winter, as if it had transformed into terrifying cold currents that rushed toward Mu Chun. However, just as the cold waves approached, Mandala appeared in front of Mu Chun. A faint glow enveloped her small body, like a black hole that swallowed up all the cold currents. She looked at Elder Winterchill with a cold and indifferent expression, sneering. Not even a single word can be spoken. Is the Western Heaven Battle Hall really this overbearing? She spoke without any courtesy. Although the Western Battle Emperor was a heavenly supreme, she had been following the Heavenly Emperor for many years, had met numerous heavenly supremes, and thus did not fear the Western Heaven Battle Hall. Upon hearing this, Elder Winterchill's dry face darkened, and he stared at Mandala, saying, "It seems that you truly intend to go against the Western Heaven Battle Hall." "So what?" Mandala was unafraid, lifting her head and sneering. "Outrageous." Elder Winterchill finally lost his temper. He shouted angrily, and the next moment, he violently waved his sleeve, causing a crystal-like ice star to shoot out. The temperature of the entire world seemed to be absorbed into that one star, and the air instantly froze. Wham! The ice crystal star turned into a cold current that surged forward in the blink of an eye. It transformed into a vast ice river, descending from the sky and striking fiercely toward Mandala. Its power was truly capable of destroying the world. However, Mandala only snorted coldly. She then opened her small mouth, and a stream of light shot out. Millions of rays of light surged, transforming into a golden pyramid. This was the Star Suppression Tower, the very same one that Mu Chun had given to her. Whoosh! The Star Suppression Tower trembled, releasing countless starry lights. These lights, like a galaxy, screamed out and bombarded the ice crystal star, shattering it with a powerful force, turning it into a shower of ice crystals that scattered down. As the ice crystal star shattered, Elder Winterchill grunted and stepped back several paces, his face looking extremely grim. Clearly, he had suffered quite a loss in this exchange. Good. Elder Winterchill's eyes widened in fury. He took a deep breath and respectfully held a golden scroll in his hands. Then, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood, which fell onto the scroll. Buzz. Buzz. As the blood fell, the golden scroll suddenly burst with a blinding golden light, radiating a terrifying aura that seemed to dominate the world, as if it were a ruler above all things. Under this terrifying pressure, everyone below the Earth's supreme level in the vicinity fell to their knees, unable to lift their heads, trembling uncontrollably. They all knew what that aura represented. In the entire Western Heaven continent, there was only one person who could possess such might. That was the ruler of the Western Heaven Battle Hall, the legendary Western Battle Emperor. Mandala's expression turned serious at this moment. The scroll would likely summon a spiritual manifestation of the Battle Emperor. Even though it would only be a manifestation, it would still exert tremendous pressure on her. Mu Chun could also feel Luo Li's grip on his hand tightening at that moment. "Don't be afraid," Mu Chun whispered. Luo Li turned her head, surprised to see that although Mu Chen's expression was solemn, there was no hint of panic in his eyes. She couldn't help but smile bitterly before replying seriously. "If there's a chance, you leave first." "And you?" Luo Li smiled faintly, saying, "Anyway, I won't become what they call the Holy Maiden." Mu Chun gazed at her smile and saw the resolute determination in her eyes. She truly would not become the Holy Maiden, for her pride would lead her to sacrifice herself rather than submit. "Luo Li," Mu Chun stared at her and gently spoke. "Do you remember what I told you before? I said, next time, I won't let anyone take you away from my side." He stared into her glass-like eyes, speaking each word slowly. Not even that Western Battle Emperor. The Western Battle Emperor was indeed powerful, but in his hands, there was still a way to be balanced. Luo Li was stunned for a moment. She clearly didn't know why Mu Chun had such confidence. However, she knew him too well to think that he would do anything reckless just for the sake of showing off, since he said so. It was certain that he had his own plans. This thought made her heart, which had been tense, finally relax a little. "It seems you've been through a lot these past years," Luo Li smiled. Her clear and graceful smile, making Mu Chen's eyes light up, For a moment, he couldn't help but feel the impulse to pull her into his arms. However, he ultimately restrained himself that he lifted his head, narrowing his eyes as he gazed at the golden scroll. The golden light spread out, and soon, a golden figure slowly materialized. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Elder Winterchill immediately kneeled down upon seeing the golden figure that exuded a supreme aura. He spoke respectfully. In the sky, the golden figure stood with his hands behind his back. His dazzling golden hair and chiseled, handsome face gave him an almost godlike appearance. His deep, mesmerizing eyes radiated an irresistible charm, leaving a lasting impression. But it was the overwhelming, otherworldly dominance he exuded that truly made him stand out. Under that pressure, countless strong individuals trembled in fear. The moment the golden figure appeared, his gaze locked onto Luo Li, and then a deep, resonant voice boomed across the heavens. "Luo Li, do you truly intend to refuse?" The booming voice, akin to that of a divine being, echoed down from the heavens, causing the entire world to tremble slightly. Countless strong figures felt their cold sweat pouring down as if divine wrath could descend at any moment. The golden figure stood with his hands behind his back, his feet seemingly treading on the void. The pressure emanating from him made him seem like the ruler of the world. Under such overwhelming might, ordinary strong individuals could only kneel on the ground, and even many Earth Supremes felt an immense pressure, not daring to look directly at him. No one had expected the War Emperor of the Western Heaven Battle Hall would appear here. Yet, under such terrifying pressure, Luo Li still lifted her delicate face. She looked at the golden figure in the sky. Although she too was slightly trembling from the immense pressure, her expression held no sign of fear. She gazed directly at the golden figure, her clear and melodious voice echoing through the world. "I am grateful for the War Emperor's favor, but I have no intention of becoming the Holy Maiden of the Battle Hall. Please, War Emperor, choose another." Luo Li's words spread, causing countless strong individuals to swallow nervously. They were utterly shocked and couldn't believe that Luo Li had such courage. On the other hand, Blood Spirit Sun's eyes were filled with wild joy. He had originally thought that the Luo God clan would rise with this opportunity, but he never expected Luo Li to show such disinterest in the Western Heaven Battle Hall's invitation, and even resist it so strongly that at this point, if the War Emperor got the slightest bit angry, the Luo God clan would be annihilated. Preposterous. Upon hearing Luo Li's words, Elder Winterchill was instantly enraged. He shouted, "Luo Li, do you know the cost of rejecting His Majesty? Do you know the price the Luo God clan will pay for your reckless actions?" Luo Li's eyes, like clear glass, suddenly flashed with sharpness. She stared at Elder Winterchill, her voice cold and calm as she replied, "It's nothing but death that I ask for the Luo God clan. As the Empress of the Luo God clan, if I must protect them by resorting to such humiliating means, then I would rather see the Luo God clan destroyed than tarnish the reputation of our ancestor, Luo Shun." Luo Li's resolute voice echoed across the sky, and the Luo God clan members felt a surge of blood rushing to their heads. Their ancestors had once been peak experts in the Great Thousand Worlds, their fame and power far exceeding that of the War Emperor of the Western Heaven. Deep within their bloodline lay pride. They revered Luo Li and viewed her, who had inherited the Luo Shun legacy, as their faith. If the existence of the Luo God clan required Luo Li's submission, then the Luo God clan would rather perish. They didn't need such a humiliating survival. Countless members of the Luo God clan raised their heads, their faces no longer filled with fear, and their eyes, burning with anger, glared at Elder Winterchill. Across the world, countless powerful individuals were watching in awe as Luo Li stood resolute. Though she was a woman, her unwavering determination and spirit made even the most hardened of them feel a sense of admiration. Elder Winterchill's face darkened. His expression twisted in surprise that he hadn't expected that his threat would instead provoke the pride of the Luo God clan. Clearly, he had underestimated Luo Li. This young woman possessed an extraordinary charisma and strength of will. Truly worthy of being recognized by Luo Shun, he muttered. Above, the War Emperor of the Western Heaven, draped in golden robes and exuding an air of unmatched grace, lightly clapped his hands. Instead of anger at Luo Li's words, there was a look of appreciation in his eyes. Turning to Elder Winterchill, he spoke calmly. Matters of love and affection are best when mutual. Have I ever used my power to oppress others? Upon hearing this, Elder Winterchill hastily bowed in apology. Witnessing the grandeur of the Western Battle Emperor, many powerful figures in the crowd secretly nodded, impressed. Such dignity was truly deserving of the ruler of the Western Heaven Continent. Chen watched the scene with narrowed eyes. He didn't believe the War Emperor would simply let this matter slide so easily. After rebuking Elder Winterchill, the War Emperor turned his attention back to Luo Li, saying, "Since you are unwilling, I will not force you. However, the position of Holy Maiden in the Western Heaven Battle Hall will always be reserved for you, and if you change your mind, you are welcome to come." Luo Li's gaze shifted, her voice calm. "Perhaps I will continue to disappoint you, War Emperor." The War Emperor smiled slightly, non-committal. Then his eyes shifted from Luo Li to the mandala, a faint smile on his lips as he spoke. "Let's set aside the matter of the Holy Maiden for now. This ancient mandala flower of yours has repeatedly challenged the dignity of my battle hall, and thus deserves punishment." At these words, the entire hall fell silent, with many powerful figures casting surprised looks at the mandala. They had not expected the mandala's true form to be an ancient mandala flower. Both Chen and Luo Li felt a slight sinking in their hearts. Though the War Emperor had let go of the Holy Maiden matter, he was clearly still vexed, now focusing his ire on the mandala. "War Emperor, with your status and position, would it not be beneath you to quibble over such things?" Luo Li spoke in a low voice. The War Emperor smiled indifferently. "If I let this go easily, others might think me weak and easily bullied. Do not worry. These two will be taken back to the Western Heaven Battle Hall, where they will be suppressed for a few years. After their hearts are tempered, they will be allowed to leave without harm to their lives." Upon hearing this, Luo Li's expression turned cold. Not only did the War Emperor intend to take the mandala, but he also planned to punish Chen. Boom! Before Luo Li could respond, the War Emperor made his move. His hand reached out, and golden light erupted, forming a massive golden hand that descended upon the mandala and Chen. "In my Western Heaven Continent, it is not for an Earth Supreme to act so recklessly." The War Emperor's vast and indifferent voice echoed across the sky, his golden hand enveloping them. Even space itself seemed to be shackled, and the flow of spiritual energy in the air came to a halt. The countless powerful figures witnessing this could not help but feel pity for the mandala and Chen. Facing a heavenly supreme strike, no matter what tricks Chen had up his sleeve, it seemed almost impossible to escape this calamity. "Little brat, let's see how you struggle this time." The Blood Spirit Son's eyes were bloodshot, his teeth gritted with a malicious grin. The Blood God clan had prepared many hidden cards to deal with the Luo God clan, all of which had been neutralized by Chen. Now, even the War Emperor had made an appearance, and he couldn't believe that Chen could survive this. "Senior, please take Chen and leave quickly." Luo Li gritted her teeth, her gaze pleading towards the mandala at this moment. Only the mandala could help Chen escape. After all, the War Emperor had not yet descended in his true form. However, in response to Luo Li's plea, the mandala simply shook its head, its dark eyes locking onto Chen at this moment. Luo Li noticed that despite the War Emperor's impending strike, Chen remained calm, not even a hint of despair in his eyes. Seeing Luo Li's gaze, Chen smiled at her, and then with a flick of his hand, a humble old lamp appeared in his grasp. Chen gently caressed the lamp and sighed helplessly. "I didn't expect to use this favor so soon." With a snap of his fingers, spiritual energy shot out, rapidly engulfing the lamp, and with a soft poof, the old lamp was quickly lit. The golden hand descended from the sky, completely enveloping mandala and Chen within its grasp, under the gazes of countless powerful beings. Seeing this scene, many experts could only shake their heads in regret at this moment. Even mandala could no longer escape. The Western Battle Emperor's expression remained indifferent as long as he could take mandala and Chen away. It seemed that Luo Li would have no choice but to go to the battle hall and serve as the Holy Maiden. Once that happened, he would have more opportunities to interact with her. He was absolutely confident that, over time, Luo Li would inevitably feel his charm, and at that point, they would become mutually affectionate. In this way, he wouldn't have to break his own rules. At his level, the allure of beauty no longer held much attraction for him. But Luo Li was different. Having obtained the Luo Shen divine body, if she could later practice dual cultivation with the great emperor's inner scripture, it would undoubtedly bring him immense benefits. Initially, he thought that simply appearing before Luo Li with his elegance and charm would easily win her favor. But he never expected a minor figure like Mu Chen to appear, and that Luo Li's feelings for him were so deep that she had completely rejected the invitation from the battle hall. So, at this point, he could only resort to some small tricks. However, Luo Li, in the future, you will come to know the unparalleled grandeur of this emperor. Your excellence can only be matched by me. As for that Mu Chen, he's just a passerby in your life, not worth your devotion. Everything I do is for your own good. With these thoughts in his heart, the Western Battle Emperor glanced at the still motionless golden hand, which showed no signs of resistance. It seemed that Mandala had given up. Seems like she knows when to surrender. The Western Battle Emperor smiled faintly, and with a wave of his sleeve, he intended to take Mu Chen and Mandala away. However, just as he was about to do so, smoke suddenly began to rise from the golden hand, and brilliant flames erupted from within. Under the intensity of the flames, the golden hand began to melt at an astonishing speed. The sudden turn of events caused the Western Battle Emperor to gasp in shock, his voice filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Even the most complete Earth Supreme would not be able to shake this technique. Yet now it was being melted by those flames. The countless powerful beings in the world also stared at the scene in disbelief. The beautiful flames danced upward, and within a few breaths, the golden hand was completely melted away. All eyes were now fixed on the scene in shock. Within the area once covered by the golden hand, Mu Chen and Mandala remained unharmed, standing in midair. But what shocked everyone was that, at some point, a mysterious man had appeared before Mu Chen. The man was tall and stood with his hands behind his back, a faint, somewhat lazy smile on his face. His aura was calm and restrained, though he did not exude an overwhelming presence. Anyone who looked at him could feel that the immense pressure previously emanating from the Western Battle Emperor was now rapidly dissipating. Realizing this shift, countless experts felt their scalps go numb. Even the most foolish would know that only another Heavenly Supreme could counter the pressure of a Heavenly Supreme. In other words, Mu Chen had somehow managed to bring forth a Heavenly Supreme. In the midst of the shock, the man standing in front of Mu Chen looked up at the Western Battle Emperor and smiled faintly. The dignified Western Battle Emperor, yet you're attacking a junior. Isn't that a bit beneath your status? High above, the Western Battle Emperor saw the man clearly, and his pupils shrank. The look of shock appeared on his face as he exclaimed in disbelief. Flame Emperor, Xiaoyan. As these words echoed through the heavens and earth, the many experts present were nearly stunned into unconsciousness. They never expected that Mu Chen had called upon a Heavenly Supreme, and even more so, that it was the legendary Flame Emperor. Flame Emperor, Xiaoyan. When the Western Battle Emperor's voice filled with astonishment reverberated throughout the heavens and earth, the strong men from all sides were in utter disbelief, staring up at the unknown man standing in front of Mu Chen. Their minds were roaring with the name that had just been uttered. For everyone in the great thousand worlds, that name was nothing short of legendary, no matter the terrifying strength that transcends the realm of the extraordinary, or the creation of the boundless fire. Domain within just a few centuries, its foundation directly surpassing some ancient races and becoming a superpower in the great thousand worlds, like a pillar supporting the sky. Facing this Flame Emperor, even the ancient and long-standing Gu clans would probably not dare to underestimate him. The reputation of the Western Battle Emperor is already incredibly powerful, but when compared to the Flame Emperor of the boundless fire domain, anyone would know that there's still a gap between the two. It's like one is a peak powerhouse, and the other is a legend among peak powerhouses. However, such big figures are often like mythical dragons, hard to see, even harder to meet. But now, The legendary Flame Emperor has been summoned by Mu Chen. In an instant, the countless powerful figures all turned their gaze towards Mu Chen, their expressions filled with deep dread. This fear was even more intense than when the mandala had appeared. The Blood Spirit Sun, who had been elated by the near destruction of Mu Chen and his group, now froze, his face a comical mask of shock. Not just him, but even other Blood God clan experts turned pale, cold sweat pouring from their bodies. They trembled as they looked at Mu Chen, their eyes full of terror. Blood Spirit Sun wiped the cold sweat from his brow, his mind in turmoil as he fought the urge to faint. He never imagined that even a heavenly supreme couldn't deal with Mu Chen. This freak had actually summoned a legendary figure from the Great Thousand Worlds. What is Mu Chen? Exactly. Blood Spirit Sun roared inwardly. If he had known that Mu Chen could summon the Flame Emperor, even if given 100 more lives, he wouldn't have dared to be so reckless. From a normal perspective, a mere lower earth supreme couldn't possibly afford to summon a heavenly supreme. It was like an ant trying to summon an elephant. While Blood Spirit Sun and the others were stunned beyond belief, the once despairing Luo God clan experts were now looking at Mu Chen with admiration. Their gaze toward Mu Chen was one of true respect and awe. If, before, they had some small issues with the closeness between Mu Chen and Luo Li, now they were genuinely convinced. Not only was Mu Chen exceptional himself, but he also had such powerful connections. Even a heavenly supreme could be balanced by him. Perhaps only a man like him could be worthy of their Luo God clan's empress. Amid the countless shocked gazes, the Flame Emperor stood with his hands behind his back. There was no terrifying aura of supremacy like that of the Battle Emperor, no overwhelming force that defied the heavens. But anyone could feel that as he stood there, the pressure originally cast by the Battle Emperor was rapidly dissipating at an astonishing speed. In just a few breaths, countless experts felt the terrifying pressure that had once made them tremble and bowed down vanish completely. When the Flame Emperor appeared, he didn't acknowledge the many shocked gazes. Instead, he gazed at the Luo God city with a hint of nostalgia and smiled slightly. I never expected to return to Luo God city after so many years. Did Senior Flame Emperor once visit the Luo God clan? Mu Chen asked in surprise. Haha, I've been old friends with the Luo God clan. The Flame Emperor laughed lightly, then turned his gaze toward the distant Luo Tian God. Smiling, he said, Old Luo, it's been many years since we last met. Luo Tian God stared blankly at the Flame Emperor. Then, with a complex sigh, he smiled bitterly. You're not the lost soul you once were, huh? When the Flame Emperor first arrived in the Great Thousand Worlds, he had landed in the Luo God clan. At that time, he was still cultivating the so-called Do Qi from the lower dimension, which hadn't yet been assimilated into spiritual energy, leaving him extremely weak. Because he was so unfamiliar with the Great Thousand Worlds, he even got lost in Luo God City. Back then, Luo Tian God was already the clan leader of the Luo God clan. He happened to encounter the Flame Emperor and gave him some assistance. But soon after, the Flame Emperor left, searching for his scattered wives and friends. Since then, Luo Tian God occasionally heard rumors about him, until later, learning that he had founded the Boundless Fire Domain and even became a heavenly supreme, his name spreading far and wide. During the time of crisis for the Luo God clan, he had indeed considered seeking aid from the Boundless Fire Domain. However, in the end, he suppressed that thought, uncertain whether the minor favor from the past would be enough to move the Flame Emperor. After all, he was now a renowned figure in the Great Thousand Worlds to attain such a level. Perhaps the Flame Emperor had long forgotten his visit to Luo God City. More importantly, Luo Heavenly God had only lent a helping hand back then because it was within his ability to expect a Heavenly Supreme to intervene over such a small favor seemed like mere wishful thinking. The gap between a Heavenly Supreme and them was simply too vast. However, upon hearing Luo Heavenly God's words, the Flame Emperor's expression turned solemn that he appeared before the elder, reaching out to clasp Luo Heavenly God's withered hands. In a deep voice, he said, Luo Lao, are you trying to paint me, Xiao Yan, as an ungrateful man? If not for your guidance in assimilating my Do Qi into spiritual energy back then, I might have remained ignorant for much longer. If that had happened, by the time I found my wife and friends, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. From his words, it was evident that his wife and friends had once faced grave danger. Had the Flame Emperor not arrived in time, the consequences would have been dire. Luo, heavenly god, hadn't. He expected that he had helped the Flame Emperor so greatly, leaving him momentarily stunned. Then, a gratified smile appeared on his aged face. After a moment of hesitation, he sighed and patted the Flame Emperor's hand. Luo Lao, are you injured? The Flame Emperor glanced at Luo, heavenly god's withered complexion and instantly noticed the stagnation in his spiritual energy. Luo, heavenly god, chuckled. It's just some blood demon poison. It was inflicted upon him years ago during a battle with Blood Spirit Sun, and it was the main reason for his worsening condition over the years. If this continued, he would likely succumb to the blood demon poison. The poison was extremely domineering. Having accumulated in his body for so long, even a perfect Earth Supreme would find it difficult to expel. The Flame Emperor smiled. That's a minor issue. As his voice fell, he lightly tapped the back of Luo, heavenly god's hand that a brilliant flame surged into the latter's body. In the next instant, Luo, heavenly god's face flushed red as drops of foul-smelling blood seeped from his pores, rapidly evaporating in mere moments. His face regained its healthy color, and his previously stagnant spiritual energy flowed freely once more. The sensation left him slightly stunned that he hadn't expected that the blood demon poison, which had plagued him for years, could be so effortlessly neutralized. The Flame Emperor cured Luo, heavenly god. Blood Spirit Sun in the distance broke out in a cold sweat. His face deathly paled. He had never expected that not only could Chen summon the Flame Emperor, but, what terrified him even more, the legendary Flame Emperor had a past relationship with Luo, heavenly god. This development left his legs trembling. Had he known about this connection, he would never have dared to oppress the Luo god clan so aggressively. Luo Lao, has something happened to the Luo god clan? After expelling the poison, the Flame Emperor glanced at the situation over Luo god city, before smiling and asking. Luo, heavenly god, hesitated briefly, but ultimately explained everything that had transpired. I just never expected that Chen would actually manage to invite you, Luo, heavenly god said with a wry smile. The Flame Emperor nodded slightly, then turned to look in Chen's direction with a smile. Fortunately, young friend Chen called for me. Otherwise, I, Xiaoyan, would have been an ungrateful man. Chen scratched his head. He had merely acted out of desperation, using up a favor to seek the Flame Emperor's aid. He never imagined he would receive the latter's gratitude in return. Leave the rest to me. The Flame Emperor smiled at Luo, heavenly god, before finally lifting his head, gazing at the terrifying figure in the sky, the Western Battle Emperor. I've long heard of Western Battle Emperor's reputation. I never expected to meet you in person today. High in the sky, the Western Battle Emperor's expression was somewhat grave as he stared at the Flame Emperor. Slowly, he said, the name of the Flame Emperor has long resounded in my ears as well. Originally, the matters of the Western Heaven continent were none of my concern. However, I have past ties with the Luo god clan, so I wish to ask for some leniency. I hope the Battle Emperor will not make things difficult for the Luo god clan or young friend Chen. The Flame Emperor smiled warmly. The Western Battle Emperor's eyes narrowed slightly. The Flame Emperor's reputation indeed shook the great thousand worlds, and the boundless fire domain was not to be trifled with. However, as the Battle Emperor, undefeated in 100 wars, when had he ever feared anyone? Letting the Luo god clan go was a minor issue, but if word got out, others might claim that the Western Battle Emperor had yielded to the Flame Emperor. That, to him, was the real matter of pride. The Western Battle Emperor pressed his lips together, falling silent for a moment. His calm words, however, made countless powerful beings in the world tremble with a sudden shock. What if this emperor says that he doesn't want to give this convenience?